Stephen.
I'm fine,
Welcome
thank you,
to
Lizzie. Yeah,
welcome to our YouTube channel again. I'd like to say hello to our audience and
yes.
how you been doing, Ron?
I'm fine. I've been sleeping a lot lately, probably because I'm getting old, but I've just been so tired. Trying to deal with 4 Zoom meetings a week and 6,000 emails is not easy, but
Yeah, you are
I'm
busy, aren't you?
I'm trying to keep on top of it because I need to know what's going on, and the world is changing and it's changing rapidly. So,
Hmm.
and a lot of people have got no idea what's going on. Uh,
No, it's fascinating what is actually going on. Do you feel there's a different feeling in the air? And as for sleeping, like I think I've been sleeping a lot as well. And do you think that's to do with the energy at the moment?
yeah. I
Yeah.
think this ascension energy is affecting our DNA, it's affecting our molecular structure, it's pushing us up towards ascension. And, you know, our emotions might be okay with it, our mental body will probably cope with it better, but the physical body is always the last to catch up.
Mm, that's
And
true.
I think that's where we're struggling. And that's why we need more sleep time for the body to adjust.
Mm,
And that's one of the problems.
mm,
Um, just to start this off, uh, the title is We Are What We Think, We Are What We Eat, and We Are What We Drink. We are creator gods, and we must never forget that
mm,
because we are very special beings, even though the establishment, the judicial system, the governments always try to make us look worthless and useless. We have to take back our sovereignty, look after ourselves, and stop giving away our empowerment. That is
mm.
sacrosanct to every sovereign being of this planet, which
Yeah.
includes all of us and our soul family. I think we have a responsibility, as tough as it is, to help the normies and the sleepers, that some of them refuse to wake up.
Mm,
And bless them for where they're at. They do need our help. And when all the truth is known, they will really need our help and support because they've been so brainwashed, so lost for such a
yeah.
long time.
Yeah.
Not easy for us because we've had all the ridicule and all the put downs and conspiracy nutters, and we've been called everything.
Mm.
But hence the reason why we're doing this YouTube today.
Mm.
Um, I think to start off with, we've got 3 categories there.
Mm.
So we'll start off with we are what we think.
Yes.
If you want to jump in at any time to help me out, because
Yes, I
I,
will, sweetheart. In
I,
fact, I've got something to say about the negative thoughts. So
yes,
let me
definitely.
just quickly, coincidentally, this is something that I'm covering with Lucy this month. So
Good.
this isn't a spin-off of what Lucy does. So I'm not gonna, put the content that Lucy does with us on this YouTube. However, what I will say, an interesting fact, and I think I've got it written down here, is that on average we have 60 to 70,000 thoughts a day.
True.
90 or 95% of those thoughts are the same loop, mostly negative. So even if they're different thoughts, they all create back to a loop or a story that we've created for ourselves as a coping mechanism from trauma. So if we've got 60 to 70,000 thoughts a day, and most of those are negative, when we think a negative thought, it's 10 times more powerful than a positive thought. And if you speak a negative thought, it's 10 times again more powerful. So that just goes to show you how important it is to have one positive thoughts and two positive language, which language is another
Yeah.
um, side topic to the you are what you think. Um, and this brings in manifestations, this brings in affirmations. and anything else that ends in tions other than train stations. But you know
Yeah.
where I'm going with this. And I think it is, I mean, I'm constantly learning, I'm constantly catching myself, you know. You if you really think about how many thoughts, if you think about how many thoughts you have each day, um, and catch yourself, yeah, you're almost having a two-way conversation. So for example, when I wake up in the morning, sometimes I'll be like, oh God, I'm gonna get up. Oh God, it's raining outside. Oh God, I got work today. So I'm constantly saying, no, you've got work today. You get to get out of bed. You get to go to work. You get to have abundance from your job to pay for your home. You get to do this, you know? So I'm having this two-way conversation with myself all the time. And I get there and then I'm trying to train Charlie, my son, to do the same. So
Yes.
I could be on a real positive, like I'll come off Zoom with you and I'll be all happy and then everything will be positive. And then, it takes another person to walk through that door. And I'll use my son as an example. He won't mind, but he'll say things like, oh, I've had the worst day in school. Oh, everything's bad. Oh, everyone hates me. And so I'm constantly saying, why don't we say that you're very fortunate not to be the nasty bully that you've encountered today? You are of the light. And now it's Friday. You've got the weekends like to look forward to, And we were having a conversation yesterday because Nicole came round and he was like, oh, I've got an hour and 20 minutes before I go to bed. I've got an hour and 10 minutes before I go to bed. And I was saying, you've got an hour and 10 minutes to have the best time with your sister before she leaves. And then you get to have a beautiful sleep because then Friday comes. And I'm just using these as personal examples of how we can turn our thought patterns and our language around and how that can mirror on your family members because it does. You may not think it has an impact. It literally is life changing once you can create that change in your mind. What are
Lizzie,
your thoughts on that?
Lizzie, thank you for that. That was brilliant. Well put together. Word that came to mind in all of what you said about positivity is gratitude. One word, and it means so much because that creates abundance. Because
Yes,
all the negative crap we put out, all the negative thoughts, turn it round and say, well, yeah, I've only got an hour and a half before I go to bed. What am I going to do? And I don't want to go to bed. And think to yourself, well, turn it round in gratitude and say, Christ, I've got an hour and a half. How much I can do in that hour and a half. And it's so wonderful. I can
yeah,
do this. I can even do a sketch or a drawing. I'm talking about little kids here and how much you can manifest. Turn the thought round with gratitude and make a positive out of a negative.
yeah,
And
spot
this is
on.
where I'm going.
Yeah,
Also, what you think is what you create because we are, what's the word I'm looking for here?
manifestors.
Yes, we are. And we are special beings. There's nowhere in any universe more special than what we are. We are
Yeah,
creator gods.
we are.
So another one I'll put forward, what we think today is tomorrow's reality. We think today, we create tomorrow's reality.
I love that.
And
Knocking that down.
and in 3D linear time, that's why it takes time to manifest. Because if we keep putting out the same negative patterns, because don't forget our universe and us are all holographic. It's like a tube tour, it's like a donut, goes round and round and round. And what we think we create may not be tomorrow, may not be next week, perhaps the week after, but guarantee you keep thinking the same negative thoughts, you'll create that and you'll bring the people into your life that will mirror it back to you. And you think to yourself, why is it I keep having all these problems? Why are these people such a pain in the ass? Because you're creating it yourself.
Yeah,
Your thoughts are magic. They are
yeah.
magical words of creation. And you have to turn it round and make it positive.
Mm, absolutely. don't want to let us down. So it doesn't, and the universe doesn't know, you know, between good and bad. It just gives you what you ask for.
Exactly.
So, if you look in the mirror and say, "Oh God, I'm so ugly," or "I'm so fat," and you say it and you say it and you say it, the universe is like, "Oh, you want to be fat? Here you go." And when you flip it around to a positive side, positive with a thought of gratitude, I think the problem is a lot of people misunderstand the manifestation technique, call it a technique. So a lot of people get attached to it. So say for example, I want a new car.
Yeah.
Like, okay, I can create a mood board or a vision board on how I'm gonna get that car and how when I'm gonna get it by, what color it's gonna be, how much it's gonna cost. We can do all that. However, I think the problem is people tend to get so attached to wanting something that sometimes that creates the resistance. So I think the best thing to do is to have clear vision boards. Absolutely. I think that's vital. So you know how you're going to get there. It really matter the details of how you're going to get it. It's just the end goal of what you desire. And then meditate on it and put it out in the quantum field. And then when it's time for it to come, you can call it back in and that's when it's ready. Whereas if you're going to a lot of people, and it goes back to the childhood. I've just seen a child doing this, saying, "I want, I want, I want," and it's true. I want doesn't get you anything, does it? So, and
Actually,
be grateful for the little signs that you're getting towards that manifestation. So, for example, I might sit here and say, "Oh, I want a new car, but I can't afford it." Straight away, you're in lack. Boom,
yes,
lack mentality.
absolutely spot on.
Whereas
Actually, there is another dynamic to this, and I learnt this several years ago. I don't practice it, and I'm a prime example. I put out negative stuff sometimes, and I shouldn't. If you say you want something, you can want for 50 years and you never get it because you haven't manifested it in real time. Because when you say I want something, it means you don't have it. This is where thoughts come in. We create our own reality. When you want something, and the next day you say, well, I still want it. I still want a new car. I want a new house. What you're saying to the universe, because the universe is neither positive or negative, it just creates what you think. And when you put it out in words, the sound is even more powerful, as you said, 10 times or 100 times stronger.
Yeah,
If you go back to a biblical text, the first thing was the word of God. It was a word, it was a frequency and a sound.
mm,
When you keep saying you want something, or you might say to your mates, when you're down a pub having a drink with the lads or you're out with the girls, you say, look, I'd love a new car. I want this car. And it never seems to turn up because you keep saying, I want it. You don't say, I have it. When you stand in your empowerment and you give it to the universe and say, I'm so pleased I've got this car. I'm enjoying it. I love driving it. I can feel the emotion of how good it is to go out and drive it. I love the speed of it. I like the look of it. I love the color. Because what you're saying is, I own it and it's in my field of vision because it's part of me, because I have it. You're not saying you
yeah,
want it anymore. And this is where you create.
yeah.
We are what we think.
That is so true. And like you say, the universe isn't biased either. So like
No,
if you sit there and say, I want to create a business, the universe will be like, that's really nice. Move on. You know,
yeah,
I want to create magic in my life. That's lovely, that is. But you have to actually actively be doing something because so say I sat here now and I said, right, Ron, I want a new piano. I'm going to create a business and I'm going to manifest all that. And then tomorrow I'll phone you up and say, nothing's happened. Well, of course it hasn't because I'm not actively doing what I'm trying to manifest. So you've got to put the work in as well. Like I think a
Yes.
lot of people do think, oh, okay, I'll sit there and meditate and I'll create the dream home that I want, with the no neighbors, the garden, the swimming pool, whatever it looks like to whoever wants to manifest these kind of things. Like, but you have to actively be doing something towards that. So it's no good me saying, yeah, by year one, I'm going to have £1 million. It's lovely to say that, yeah, £1 million, but are you showing signs of gratitude for the little things that you've already done to create, I don't know, £5, £10, and the gratitude with that. So, say, for example, you said to me, Lizzie, I would like to help you with your business. I'm going to, I don't know, post leaflets for you free of charge. And if you create any business off that, that's come as a gift from me.
Yeah.
And now that's where the gratitude comes in because I might get business, like somebody might give me £1. Like, if I'm like, oh, I've only got £1 today, it's not going to work, is it? Do you
No.
see what I'm saying? But I think it's important people do know that you have to put work in as well. And the more you're grateful for the work that you've done by the outcomes that you're getting, then yeah, this is where it can move forward. Like we all know we can manifest parking spaces. I think the whole Soul Tribe can do that now. And
Yeah.
this is a real thing.
I do that quite regularly.
Yeah, seeing you have to visualize it as well. I think you have to see it and feel it in your heart. So if you're driving and you know that it's going to be busy or you're running late, just ask the universe, say, please universe, create a space for me, I'm running really late. Or ask your spirit guides, ask your archangels, whatever feels comfortable to you. But
Yeah.
just feel how happy you are that you've got that parking space. And as soon as you've got that parking space, the gratitude, you have to show the gratitude. And it works every time as long as you feel it in your heart. It's got to come from your heart, not your mind.
Lizzie, it always astonishes me how you and I are so connected at a soul level because I'm just blown away. Because what
Mhm.
I was going to say on this one, and I'll emphasize as we go through this discussion, and I'll keep mentioning it until we go on to the food aspect and the drinking aspect, but we're still on, we are what we think. And when you think something, the brain is electrical. It's like a filing cabinet. There's a masculine side and a feminine side. And because you're feminine and I'm masculine, we have a 3D reality. That's why you've got two hemispheres of the brain. When you think something, you don't create it. You have to visualize it in the pineal gland that you already have it. Like the car you want, if you keep wanting it, you never get it. So you have to feel that you're driving that car in your pineal gland, feel yourself in that car driving it, and it's the emotion of in your heart, and it is on the feeling level that we are creator gods. When you
Mhm.
feel the joy and the happiness and seeing it in your mind of driving that car because you already own it, this is where you manifest. And this is where you change the reality because the heart is magnetic, the brain is electrical, 3D reality. When you manifest in the heart, you bring it all in, you bring the universe in. It goes back to that tube torus again, that donut. It goes up and down, but it's always going in a cycle of up and down, round and round. And it's a vortex we draw in from our heart. And when you feel gratitude again, that's the greatest word for manifestation.
Mm.
So I'll leave you to carry on now.
Some people will say, I've heard people say when we've been at retreats or days out and stuff, and people will say, well, how can I feel the joy if I've not had what it is that I want to manifest, if I've not had it before? And I can see their points, but the way I look at it
Yeah, it's a
is
good point.
yeah. So what I tend to advise is remember a time when you felt joy. So it doesn't have to be, oh my God, I've got joy because I've created the business I wanted, or I've got my dream home finally. It can be a moment when your child was born, or when you saw somebody do something beautiful for your neighbors and you felt that joy, or when you really wanted something when you were younger, or even yesterday, and somebody gave you the phone call and you got what it was you wanted and you felt that joy. Just remember that, like, think of that joy, even if it's for something completely different. That's how I bring up the feeling that I want when I want to manifest something. And I've got one special moment in my life, which was about a year and a half ago. And I always use that feeling because I remember I was punching the air. I was so happy. I won't say what it was because it's quite personal to me, but I've got god bumps all done. I've got god bumps everywhere right now. Somebody just walked over me. Yeah, thank you, whoever you are. Yeah. So to feel that joy, or that, when you feel like you're 5 years old and you're jumping up and down because you're so excited, just
Yeah.
bring that up, isn't it? And have that feeling, because everybody knows that if you feel that joy, it's so much nicer than feeling all stressed and upset and crunched up and oh. And also going back to what you said about electrical loops, electrical signals in your brain, this is exactly what happens when we're we create our brain is like a computer, isn't it?
Yeah.
And we're
It
constantly
will only
firing.
work with what you put in it.
Yeah, very true. Very true.
Mm,
And it's being aware of it as well, isn't it? Because I remember only 3 years ago, maybe a bit longer than that, I was in a right mess. Constant loops of lack and fear and judgment and
yeah. Poor
self-loathing and
me. Why is the universe against me?
for
Why does
me.
everybody hate
Yeah.
me? Am
Why
I
is
not
everybody
lovable?
Yeah, yeah. Why does everybody look at me? Why is like, now I know why everyone looks at me because I'm absolutely amazing,
Yeah.
But before I'd be like, oh my God, are they looking at me because I'm so ugly, I'm so fat. But let me go back to what I was going to say about the brain. We create these loops in our thoughts, but also the neurons they fire off each other, don't they? So if you're creating a negative
Synapses, they call
thought,
them. Electrical
then this.
impulses.
That's it. Yeah. So we've got to find a way of breaking that loop. I'm doing this now, like the DNA, but this is what the synapses are like. So they creating a thought, creating a link, and it's breaking that link. And it's as simple as catching yourself, rewiring what you're gonna say. Because at the moment I'm in the middle of this two-way conversation. I call it and this is not to offend anyone with mental health issues, but I call it a bit of a spiritual schizophrenia right now, what I'm going through, because you catch the thought. So that's one way conversation. Then you retrain that thought. So you're talking back to that conversation in your mind until you actually learn or retrain your thoughts to not say those negative things at all. Do you see where I'm coming from?
Yeah.
Like anything, it takes practice, I guess. I'm guessing because I'm still not there yet. I'm still at the early stages of trying to do this. So yeah, it's
Well
fascinating.
done.
I mean, it's fascinating stuff. I love it. Like I love neuroscience. I love anything to do with the brain. This is how I got onto my spiritual journey in the first place, but that's another story for another time.
I'll re-emphasize this again so we don't lose track. We
Sorry.
are what we think because we're still
Naughty
on it.
Lizzie.
Yeah, I'll say it again. We are what we think. Interesting that going back to little children, bringing up kids, somebody said many, many years ago, I don't know who it was, but they said, give me a child up to the age of 7 and I will work miracles. After the age of 7, I'll do the best I can because the patterning goes in at that very early age. And if you look at thought patterns and how we create tomorrow's reality, because we're in linear time, today's thought, I'll emphasize it again, is tomorrow's reality, because what we think today, we create for tomorrow or next week or next month. Another one that we miss out on is the subliminal messages that we keep playing at an unconscious and a subconscious level, because we run subliminal tapes from childhood. And that's where a lot of our life breaks down. Because if we've had a bad childhood and it's been very traumatic, we've both been through this. So we still, at one level, still run subliminal tapes about I'm not worthy, I'm not good enough, nobody loves me, nobody cares for me. And our whole life becomes a mess because everything we work on, everything we go into becomes a disaster because the people we keep creating by those subliminal tapes keep coming into our life until we learn the lesson.
Mm.
When we stand in our truth and our sovereignty and we really learn to love ourselves because we are beautiful beings, whether we're 85, 25, 10 stone, 40 stone, we're still beautiful creator God beings. And when we keep creating these subliminal tapes that we're not even aware we're running them, because we're still living our childhood, but we don't realize it, of low self-worth, unworthy, not wanted, not loved, not cared for. And that goes right through our whole life because we keep running these tapes. Go back to it again. We are what we think. So
Interesting. And one quick note on that is, when we say things like, "Oh, we're not cared for," "Oh, we're not loved," these are probably all one of the same loops, but we
yes,
don't recognize what that loop is. So it may look like something other than, "Oh, I'm not loved." It may come up as in like, "Oh, why is that person not listening to what I'm saying?" Oh, why did that person say that to my comments? Oh, and it's all down to the same loop, as in you're not having that self-worth. You feel like somebody's judging you because you're
yes,
not worthy, because you're not worthy of love.
yeah,
It's all the same frigging loop, round and round and round and round.
yeah,
But I think both of us are aware of that. And going back to people that come down here to literally trigger the fuck out of us is like we're all mirrors to each other, aren't we?
oh
So
God, yeah, I'll say,
we could be the most spiritual person in the world. Like, I mean, we could be claiming to be of the love and the lights, but we can go down to the shops. See, I don't know. It's usually people that you know that trigger you the most, but you could see a stranger who says, "Oh, all right, love, you look a bit of a mess today." Now that person, we must thank that person because it's how you react to that and how you feel about that in your heart. Because you know, I don't think anybody's not going to have a negative thought about that.
yeah,
It could be worse, but that person, thank you for bringing up that emotion in me because now I know what I need to heal within myself. Why did that bother me so much?
exactly,
So we can sit there and think, oh my God, that's it. That's the rest of my day ruined. I must look a mess. Oh no, that man said this, it must be right. And oh my God, I need to change and blah, yada, yada. Off you go again in this loop.
yeah. And the old mouse wheel starts rolling round again. The old subliminal tape kicks off. It's into first gear, second gear, and it runs away. And you think, oh God, my life's falling apart again. And just one comment that gets in, and I've always said this: some of the people that come into our life, it's all about magnets of drawing people in. Because whatever crap that you haven't dealt with inside yourself, I guarantee you'll manifest it on the outside, and someone will come into your life and tip you right over the edge.
Yeah.
And that's why I say the people that give us the most bloody stress and the most pain and suffering, in actual fact, are our greatest teachers.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you can say to them, because at the higher level, when you heal time, reality, three dimensions, there is no good, there is no bad, there is no dark or light, it's all one. Because you thank that person and say, thank you for that beautiful lesson.
Yeah.
It's cleared the crap out of me. It's pushed up emotion that I'd never dealt with or never even thought I had. and you release it and you say thank you.
Yeah,
Comes back to gratitude again.
it does. And in
Gratitude
fact,
for all the shit that's been thrown at me, because
yeah,
it's cleared me out and it's made me a better person.
absolutely beautiful. And in fact, this is something that I've over the last 6 months had the realization of, my past partners. And as you know, Jamie passed away. In fact, it was his anniversary yesterday.
Who was
And
Jamie, if you don't mind me asking?
my ex-partner who died,
Oh, I didn't
who was
know that.
abusive to me. Yeah. So anyway, I found the gold in the fact that he's left this realm. And I seriously do think that the universe was like, because all my life I've had abusive relationships. Now, some people, like I used to sit there and go, I always attract abusive men. Of course, the universe is like, oh, right, okay, you want abusive man? Here we go. Whilst you're there,
We'll send you one. Yeah,
yeah, and whilst you're there, sort your fucking traumas out because this guy's gonna sort you out. Otherwise, he's gonna really damage you.
yeah.
So, of course, I didn't listen. Second relationship, same thing. Third relationship, same thing. But this time, the universe had to shock me, literally take me to my knees. And Jamie took his own life, left this realm, and just literally, oh my God, my whole world stopped.
Yeah.
And I was in grief. I was reaching out for him to, like, even though things weren't perfect between us, obviously things weren't nice between us. And then, of course, now I can see the gold in it. And I thank him every single day for all that he did to me because look where I am now. Look where I am now. And I'm going to get emotional about this.
You're making me feel emotion
Thank
because I
him
can feel
every
that.
single day for the gold because if it wasn't for him, and if I hadn't have listened to, if I hadn't have listened to the signs at that time, whether it be unconsciously or subconsciously or whatever, like that soul did what he did to me to bring out the best in me right now. And that's what's happened. And, that may seem quite extreme to some people and it might trigger some people, which is probably a good thing. It might upset some people, but we all find the gold from our tragedies in the end. You've just got to look for the signs. You have to.
What a
And
beautiful
then
statement that is. And that
mm,
goes back to that one word again. Thank you for the lesson. Thank you for giving me help, but you've made me what I am today. And that's the gold in all the dross. Because in that moment, you found that pure gold.
and you have to
Gratitude again.
forgive. You have to forgive and you have to forgive yourself
Yeah,
because I find it very easy to forgive other people. It's been the biggest challenge to forgive myself.
yeah.
And I think that's another important part. But why don't we move on to something a bit more positive now and talk about my favorite subject?
Grub. Grub. Nosh.
Talking of food and water, of course.
Yes.
I've got my water here, which is filtered, by the way. So, do you want
Actually,
to
it's
start off
more in
about the
it.
food?
Yeah, why not? I just diverse for a minute. Um, Something I knew about 3, 4 years ago. It's more enhancing to drink water out of copper vessels.
Or glass, blue glass.
Yeah, yeah.
I know plastic's no good.
No,
So for me, trying to show off my filtered water in a plastic bottle is probably not a good start. But
got to start somewhere.
perfect.
Right. Let's get it. Let's get into. I use a posh word this time. Cuisine or food or grub or grog or nosh.
Nosh, bish bash
Nosh.
bosh nosh.
Yeah, posh nosh.
Scrummy.
Okay, I'll kick it off and you can jump in.
All right.
We'll do a mix and match on it. Okay, food. Food has a frequency. Everything on this earth is provided by the nature of God and all that we are. And as I said in the introduction, we are what we think. I think we've knocked the hell out of that one. We are what we eat. And what we eat is what we become emotionally, mentally, and physically, more physically, but it does affect our emotions. If you eat crap food with a low vibration and a low frequency, you get out of balance, particularly in your solar plexus and your throat chakra. They're the ones. And you get very aggressive because you're on a very acidic diet and not alkaline, because all this comes into the equation. And food not only has its color, because all proper food, I'm not talking about processed food, burger bars and McDonald's, and I'm not knocking McDonald's. Sometimes people enjoy it.
Should.
I wouldn't have it myself, but we all learn the lesson. So I don't want any lawsuits against McDonald's against me, but
Well, I think that's one for us to talk about on the dark web.
no, actually, fast food is very addictive because they do put ingredients in it where you can't get enough of it, you crave for it. And with food, because it fills you up, and I'm not knocking women here, women tend to get more obese than what men do. Okay, I know men suffer with beer guts because there's too many pints in one day, but a lot of women that are very overweight, very obese, believe it or not, are actually starving. They're
Yeah,
extremely hungry. And
yeah.
the reason why we take in food is the solar plexus, because we're hurt, we're damaged, we're going through grief, and we pack the pounds on to protect ourselves. Because the bigger
Right.
stomach you've got, the more you protect your solar plexus, because that's where trauma gets in and it goes through there.
Fascinating. I
And
didn't
that's
know
why we
that.
want your weight.
Wow.
Yeah.
Goodness me. So, what advice would you give to women who are watching this, and for those who feel that maybe that might be a thing for them? Do you think it's about letting go of being attached to that weight, or letting go of the protection they think they need?
On
Like,
a
what is
sub, yeah, on a subconscious level, I think women suffer more than what men do, particularly in failed relationships, because don't forget women are the givers.
yeah, yeah,
Men
providers.
providers, yeah, and
Mm,
they produce. They take it into their heart, they take it into their breasts because that's where they feed babies from.
mm, yeah,
And women are always drawing in. And in relationships, when they have a failed relationship, it totally devastates them. I'm not saying men don't get hurt because we do, but I think it's worse for a woman because
mm,
they're more trusting, they're more loyal than what men are, because men tend to sleep around and well, you know the scenario, don't they? Men go down the pub and they think, cool, fancy that. I might give that a quick one tonight. And that's
not
where
all
some
men,
men
by
are
the
coming
way.
from.
Not all men, by the
No,
way.
not all men.
Just in case you're getting people like panicking about their partners who are at work right now.
No, going back to women again, when a woman's hurt, she's hurt very, very deeply
Yes.
because she has so
Crushed.
much love to give. Because she is a birther. She creates new universes, new human beings. I
Mm.
know you need the man's sperm to do that, but they do the job. They are the factory, they produce. And when a woman gets hurt, it's so deep, it's devastating. And okay, it is what we said about you are what you think, low self worth, low self esteem. I won't dwell on that because obviously that's where the problem starts because of failed relationships. So, therefore, to protect themselves in the short term, because they haven't dealt with the inner self
Yeah.
and their love for themselves, they tend to eat more. They tend to eat junk food. They tend to go for sweet food because it gives them a high, gives them a kick. And there's something in sweet food, particularly chocolates and cakes and biscuits. It gives you a high, but it's only a temporary fix. It's like drug addicts when they push the old needle up. You know,
Yeah.
they got to have it.
Both you and I are guilty of, we're both chocoholics, aren't we? I say
Oh God, yeah.
chocoholics. I say that lightly, but not lightly. But we're both very fond of chocolate, which is my weakness, I guess. I don't want to call that word in, but
Yeah,
yeah, I think a little bit now and again, it doesn't hurt. A bit of what you enjoy. However, as we know, I mean, I don't know whether you want to move on to the, we got to be very careful about if we speak about sugar and cancer and stuff like that. I think that's a very fine line that we shouldn't really cross on YouTube.
no,
And for the sake of medical, accusations, yada yada yada, you know the score.
yeah,
But
this,
sugar,
that,
as we know, is
yeah,
is the biggest poison, and sugar's in literally everything that's processed. It's in alcohol, unless we're growing our own fruits and vegetables, there's gonna be pretty much crap in anything that we buy. Um, as for growing our own fruits and vegetables, which ideally would be lovely, we don't know what they're spraying in the skies. We don't know what's in our soil. So it's we can't make sure that everything that we consume is perfect because there's just no way we can do that. But we can just be aware of what's good and what's not to help because you're right, it does affect your mood, like especially when it comes to alcohol and chocolates and sweets and stuff like that, because the more sugar you consume, the more toxins in your body. You don't sleep well, then you're grumpy the next day. If you're
yeah.
drinking alcohol a lot, you're gonna dehydrate your cells from the beautiful water it needs. You've got to drink more water, and it's got to be good water. If it's not good water, it's full of fluoride. The fluoride then literally freezes up your pineal glands, and then you're back into this. Oh, I feel like shit. I'm gonna eat something crap because I've got a hangover. You know, you can see how it makes you heavy. So when it comes to foods and vibrations, you're right. We've got to have things that are colourful from the ground or from a tree, like coconuts. I don't know why I
Uh,
did that.
if you
Um,
look at Mother Earth, because she is a mother, she provides for us. Because without her, we're all dead. We're finished. And
yeah,
going
pissed
back
off right now
to,
as well. She's
yeah,
pissed, right off.
oh yeah. Well, that's why we're getting all these earth changes because she's getting all the crap off of her back, and there's more to come. Won't dwell on that because obviously that's another conversation. Now, getting down to, I'll just touch on this again with women again because of the devastation and the hurt, and it goes into the solar plexus. And when you say to a person, I feel absolutely gutted, that's what it is. Your stomach is literally torn out of you. And that's where you
Ah,
put the weight on. That's where women put the weight on because they're protecting their solar plexus because of what's happened to them. Okay, there is dynamics on this, which we've already covered in We Are What We Think. But with the food, we go for cravings that give us a high because it covers the pain that we've just been through.
so I suppose, like, if we are aware of what they're craving and why they're craving it, and what what is actually missing from what's their body screaming out for. So, for example, I
Yeah,
chocolate, isn't that a magnesium thing that you might be a little deficient in or a bit low in levels? Is it magnesium?
I think
Um,
it is. I'm not an expert on this.
no, we both choose to block that from our lives, don't we? That reasoning
Yeah,
for the chocolate.
yeah.
All right, now it's too painful.
No, I've managed to wean myself off of that one. I'll get through a box of Black Magic in 2.5 days now. I'm just letting people know that I'm down to earth.
Yeah.
We've got
Well, we
problems.
are.
We're still dealing with problems. We're not above anybody else. We're not better
No,
than anybody else.
absolutely, absolutely not. And it's important that we be
Yeah,
real and authentic because I think people know that by now, but
yeah.
nobody's perfect. We're not saying that you have to sit like a monk and just eat nothing.
exactly. Getting down to the nitty-gritty of food, it's a big one, this one. As I go back to Mother Earth, she provides for us and she sustains us. And we do live in a world of abundance,
Yeah.
but we have to change the reality as a collective, all of us, everybody on the earth, because everybody had the same thought of total abundance, total love. We could change this planet within 48 hours.
Yeah,
Everything would shift.
absolutely.
But
And I
going back to we are what we think again, we've got to stop looking at newspapers. We've got to stop looking at newsreel footage because it's all doom and gloom. It's all negative. It's all about separation. And it's 3D reality. We're moving out of that. That's why they want to keep us in it. Oh, there's going to be a war in Ukraine. Then there's going to be a war in Poland. The Russians did it. It's all the Russians' fault. Total BS.
yeah.
Not saying it's not happening. There are people dying. And from my heart, I feel for that. And we all do,
Mm,
particularly in Gaza. That's an abomination.
mm.
But we've got to get out of the mindset of this reality of 3D because it's separation. And that's where mainstream media and the news keeps us in fear, separation, and it gives us enemies, someone we've got to fight. And we don't need to
Yeah.
fight anybody.
No,
What we do
absolutely
need to
not.
do is love everybody.
Exactly.
And this is how they work on us.
Yeah, and this is the thing, and people, we're not judging people who watch the news because they're unaware of what is happening. I was unaware of what was happening like
Me
4
too.
years ago.
Yeah,
But
totally.
now when you become more awake to it and you actually like sometimes I'll turn the laptop on and the news is on the MSN, like the news headlines, it comes on the laptop. And I can see straight through it. You'll see a headline
Yeah,
and you're like, oh, what's their narrative now? What are they trying to get?
yeah.
But,
You
the
do
people
see
that are
through
sat
it.
at home that watch the BBC, especially, I've got family members that still sit and watch that and listen to every word they say. And I'm not judging them for that. However, even if you don't feel frightened at the time that you're watching something, you are still putting out that little bit of fear. And if you switch your telly off, I mean, look at the lockdowns that happened in 2020.
Yeah,
Now, if we'd all sort of had televisions back then, there would be no pandemic. There would be no, because we would all be out there doing our lives and not knowing anything about what was going on around us. So I
exactly.
think there's a massive contributor.
Yeah.
What?
One of
Contributor.
contributor, one of the most deadly weapons on this planet is not nuclear weapons, it's not tanks, it's not missiles, it's not typhoon jets. The,
Power of
the greatest
words.
one is the television.
Power of
And
words.
tell lie vision. Let's tell a lie and get people to vision it. Tell
Programmed.
lie vision.
Yes,
It was all
absolutely.
orchestrated. This is why TVs are so cheap. If you look at goods in various department stores, they're still selling tellies. You can still get a really good sized television, 349, 350. Not a lot of
Yeah.
money today when people are earning. And why? Because they want to brainwash you with it. And the more I see it now, particularly adverts, and
Yeah.
that's getting even more. If you look at the adverts at a deep level, that's getting more into cross dressing and
Oh, is
LBGT.
it
Yeah, all brainwashing again.
interesting? Yeah.
Yeah,
See, I don't watch the telly, so I've not seen any adverts, but I have watched things. I have caught up on some documentaries that and one was on ITV. I think they call it ITVX now. Everything's got X in it right now. Have you noticed?
yes, I have.
Everything's about, so the subliminal thing about disease.
Yeah, next
Yeah.
pandemic is an ex
Yeah.
pandemic.
Yeah. The one that they've already got a cure for before they even know what it is. Anyway, um,
Back to
yeah,
food.
but it's the same. This goes back to thoughts and language, doesn't it? Because
Absolutely.
what's the BBC? What do the keep saying that word. What do the newscasters do? They use their language. It's all about how they language there. So, there's ways of phrasing things as well, isn't there? And
Yeah.
subliminal psychology little tricks that they put in to scare you with frightening figures that aren't probably real, and footage of a crisis actor. Like, a lot of what we see is not actually what we see in reality. It's all staged. Why would they do that if something's real?
Also,
That's another story, isn't it, Jack and Ori? Hey?
when you're watching telly, you might be watching a film or you might be watching whatever. They're also putting through the screen that you don't see because it passes our visual spectrum. They put
Mm,
out subliminal messages, and
sounds.
that hits the theta waves of the brain. So we're
Yeah,
being bombarded and kept down and in fear mode, even though we don't see it.
yeah,
We might be watching a comedy program or a comedy film, but the subliminal messages that they're sending through it hits the
yeah.
theta waves of the brain, keeps us down, keeps us separated, keeps us in a low frequency. And it
And
goes on
sounds.
constantly.
And the sounds. Do you remember that clip that we watched about the film Leave the World Behind, and they were claiming there were lots of, I'm not saying this is true or not, but this is what, but this brought this into reality, that this could happen on films where there's a sound put through certain parts of the film. And I'm not saying that's the only film, it probably happens in a lot of films, but I'm
Oh, yeah.
grateful that it came up for me to recognize that that could be an issue. Didn't even think about it. But they can put sounds in that you can't hear. Maybe a dog could hear it. There are really a horrible frequency that
Yeah.
damage your DNA. So if you're sat in front of the telly all day and you don't, you might be watching Mary Poppins for all I know. Like, you might be thinking it's all love and light, but there might be subliminal visuals, there might be subliminal sounds that
Yeah.
without you knowing are literally affecting us every single day. I mean, I could be sat on my work computer. I don't know what's coming out of it. Not much, but
Well,
it could be all around us. Just because we can't see it doesn't mean it's not
yeah.
affecting us on a cellular level.
Well, a prime example of that, going back to mobile phones, is 5G, which is disharmonious to our RNA and our DNA.
Mm.
6G is harmonious and it's about waveform energy again. Um, shall we get back to food? Because
Yeah, we'll go back to food.
we're going off piece there.
Yeah, we'll
Okay.
start wrapping it up soon, Ron, as well, because it's been an hour. We don't want to. I could talk to you all day about it, but yeah.
Well, me too. We're on a roller here. I think we're going to have two parts on this one. We have actually been running for an hour, have we?
Yeah, well, it's 11 o'clock now, and we started at 10, didn't we?
Bloody hell, that's gone quick, isn't it?
I know.
Okay. What should you do? 10 minutes and then knock it on the head? Okay, right.
Typical,
I'll
typical,
put some
typical English guy. Oh, knock it on the head, Just as well Alan's not here right now because we'd have a swear word as well, which is fine, by the way. We're allowed to swear too.
absolutely. Now, I don't put on any posh accents. I haven't got a suit and a tie on. I haven't had my hair shampoo and washed. I'm just as I am. Now, looking at food, we are what we eat. I'll keep emphasizing these bullet points. Food, the lower the vibration, the lower the human being. And don't forget, everything that we are is what we take into our body, because we take in thoughts, we take in food, and we take in liquids. Now, whatever the food and the liquids are, and the vibration and the frequency of those foods and liquids is what our body becomes, it's what our mind becomes, and it's what our emotions become. And it's how we vibrate with other people. I try not to judge here, but if you look at people that are high on drugs and high on alcohol, they are totally lost. Their frequency is so low, they get into an aggressive state. And this is where it comes to our causal body and our astral body, because then the demons get in. That's why they call it the demon drink. The astral
Yeah.
active entities get in, and then we want to fight everybody. We might be in a sleeping bag in a shop doorway all night on the old meths or on the alcohol or shooting up drugs. We're at the lowest frequency that a human being can actually maintain life. And those people are extremely sick and they are extremely ill. And also they're extremely dangerous. And trying to deal with those sort of people at such a low frequency is not an easy job. There are people that do it, and I give great credit to those people that are trying to help them people. But if you look at their life and what they've been through, the damage that's been done to them, their childhood has been horrendous. They may have been beaten to a pulp as a child by both parents. They're homeless. They're in a shop doorway, and they're on any substance that they can get down them just to keep warm and survive. That frequency is the lowest waveform a human being can maintain life. Go to the highest level, like these gurus and these holy men or holy women. They live a very high vibrational diet. The frequency is utmost, the best foods, the best frequency foods, and you need to balance the colors of the food you eat with the chakras, because we have to match everything on all levels. That's a taster. Should we knock it on the head there?
Oh, you're so beautiful, Ron. Your soul is just dancing. I can feel it. You're so full of wisdom, and I love having
Thank you.
our conversations. But yes, we'll wrap it up. So
We'll
we'll
do a
come on
part
next
two.
time and we'll finish. But at
Yeah.
least this time I haven't done 4 set changes or clothes changes this time, because a few times ago we did it what 3, 4 times. So I
I
was in
know
different
that was a
outfits.
nightmare, that one.
Well, touch wood, I haven't had any bother from the school. So I say
No,
that I've
I
got a
think
missed
that's
call, but
enough
it's not from
because
school.
we're not experts. We're not loading it over everybody. We're just normal people.
So
And what we're doing, we're sowing seeds for tomorrow's world. That's what we're doing. We're
yeah,
sowing seeds
beautiful.
because people got to do their own research. They've got to look after themselves. And we can only give them that with the love that you and I share.
Yeah.
And that's a spiritual love. And I hope that comes across. I'm sure it does. So,
Yeah, absolutely. It does. And I think because we're just I don't want to use the word normal, but we're just normal people that are
yeah,
just, you know, we're just here mainly because this is what we enjoy doing. Like this is what we like to do and talk about. And it's very rare that we get the chance to have a
yeah.
chat with it, just me and you. And we do connect and we
I
do
miss
click.
those times because they're so special, you and I.
Yeah.
And putting it in perspective, yes, Friday night I'm out with the lads on the lash. So I'll just leave that for the audience
It's Yeah, exactly. And the
because
thing is,
I'm
I,
just an
I
ordinary
like a
guy.
glass of wine. I like to go out and have fun and go to the pictures, which is probably not really that good. But we're in this human meat suit right now, and we're doing the best we can, and
Yeah,
that's all we can do. And people who might watch this, if they're triggered, then good, because you need to go and work on why you've been triggered by this conversation. If
yeah,
you're not triggered and you've enjoyed it, that's because you look at us and we're mirroring back to you what you are yourself, which is a beautiful,
exactly.
beautiful soul.
Yeah.
So
Well,
thank you so
thank you.
much for listening, guys. We really appreciate it, don't we, Ron? We do. We
Yeah.
do
And there's
appreciate
so
it.
much love here. And thank you to our soul tribe and
Yes.
our soul family because they're always with us. Although they don't do these videos, they are part of us. We're on the same frequency. We understand each other. We don't judge each other. And there is only pure love between all of us. And that comes across, doesn't it?
I love our soul family. Oh my goodness. Okay. So until next time, I just want to say thank you for listening, and we'll see you really. We'll see you
Really,
really,
really, really, really soon.
see you real soon. All right. Take care. Bye bye for now.
That's it. I'm just about to switch it off.